everyone. It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I'm Mariah Afolabi, and as always, I have the ladies. Hello.
Hi.
How you guys? And we have an amazing audience. We have students from Supreme Education Foundation, Magodo. Welcome to the show. You guys look so nicely, neatly dressed, you know. This, you ever sitting down nicely smart? I can see the posture is right. How are you guys doing? It's good to have you on the show with us today. So, ladies, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Who have I seen this week? Oh, I've seen everybody this week.
Yes.
How you doing, Topset? It's midweek. What's happening?
Yeah, we're doing projects. Apparently, I missed the point that the project was submitted on the 14th of October.
Yeah, that's Monday, yeah.
And we haven't started anything. So my kids have projects, but in essence, the parents have projects because we need to start thinking of what to do. We're recycling. So I just pushed him to do the work today that he should go to, I got him gloves. So my son is going to go around the school into classes and pick up plastic bottles, and then we would use it. So if he's defending this, he's talking about his project, he will say that he went from class to class and picked up the trash and checked for them and sought what he wanted to do. So I wanted him to do a little more because I was cracking my head thinking of where I'll get bottles from in 24 hours. But he will do that today, and then we'll do project tomorrow. But it's a whole lot of work for parents, and we need to just find this time to do it.
Cool. How you doing, Nima?
I'm good. I'm struggling to be good with the way the tank farms will not just give us breathing space. They're taking over Mara Road this morning, and I pray my children get to school well, safe. But then today is Celebration Schools debates, and I try to be positive with the judging. I want to go and learn how to debate. Yes, let me go and get a few things. I'm also debating.
Well, you've been doing it for 3 years now, Anima.
Oh, no, debates are, you know, tough game. You have to have facts and figures right.
But you're there tomorrow.
Yes, I'm also a judge. How you doing, Mariam?
Fine, thank you. So, obviously, this traffic situation is just getting really bad. I've had to change my routes. I don't take the regular Ojo Elegba route.
That's your Korodu.
Yeah, so I'm going round, try and get on 3rd Mainland Bridge.
Yeah.
So that's what I am doing. So, but the thing is, I don't know what exactly is causing this gridlock.
Is that bad road?
It's bad road.
That bad road near Total. When you're descending from the ramp, going to get into
there are
the
a few particular bad
crazy
spots, and it's trending online, and people are tweeting that Lagos State government should please look into fixing the roads.
To keep saying it's raining and they can't walk
until after
bad.
the
You can
rain.
ameliorate. You can do some quick measures and make sure that, you know, you do something.
I had an important meeting.
Long-lasting.
I first of all tried to go through Okpabi Link Road to bust out at Mobility Bank Anthony and then go to my meeting. But it was still, that place, everybody diverted to that place. So it was just as bad. I mean,
we knew it was going to rain. We knew that there would be rainy season, so we could have prepared for it.
It's really, I mean, the floods all across.
I just couldn't talk about the way the whole Mile 2 Amodofi Expressway, the Badagry Expressway into Oshodi Apapa is flooded. It just cleared the canals. That's all.
Anybody want to tell us how they're doing on the hello, let's say from somebody. Tell us how you're doing, anything happening. Okay. Yes, hello, Mr. Daniel.
I want to give a shout out to my mom.
Okay.
Today is her birthday. She's 78 today.
78.
Yeah, she's been with the ladies of Your View since the journey began 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So she said she loves every one of you.
Happy birthday, Ma.
I'm so glad we're able to do that. Fantastic. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, we'll breeze through the front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You guys are busy drinking your coffee, forgetting that you're supposed to clap. Seth, we usually clap as we come in the show. But they're thinking... Right, okay, let's start with the nation. Buhari exempts firms with 25 million naira turnover from VAT. You see, the budget is all over the papers. I mean, everything, each paper has a story on the budget. Wadume panel reports indicts army captain and police ASP. Sexton marks outrage over another lecturer. And it said our president's wife is sad. Floods sweep away Ondo Varsity student Ado Ekiti ravaged. Nigeria-Brazil friendly suffers setback. Let's start with the Badume story. Yes, Nima.
So this 7-man inquiry committee set up by the Defense Ministry has indicted an army captain. Let me just mention their name. Captain Tijani Balarebe, Sergeant Ibrahim Mohammed, Corporal Bartholomew Obaye, that's the DCO of EB Police Station, and Assistant Superintendent of Police Afona Iobe, and Inspector Aliyu Daje. These officials have been indicted in the panel's reports. Just like Wadume confessed, he conspired with these people to carry out his escape. Now, the bodies of the slain of police officers are still in the morgue because they cannot be buried until, investigations are concluded. We would like a speedy investigation so that we can have... The army officer was saying that it was due to lack of poor communication and lack of interagency cooperation.
Cooperation, exactly.
Oyibo, big English, but can we just move forward to a prosecution? I think we have a case.
So I think wasn't like a murder.
Clear murder.
Initially with
murder.
Listen, I said that initially everybody was saying that this was intentional, right?
That's what it was.
But now, based on this, they say it's actually because of poor...
That's them speaking English. Based on Wadume's confession,
Wadume confessed
this was him.
I know. I'm just telling you what the paper is saying so that we're clear. Okay, floods?
Yes,
Ekiti.
very Ondo State, I think.
Ondo,
yes,
okay.
very sad story, just as we're talking about the floods right now. So a final year student of Adekunle Ajasin University her body was taken away by floods. She tried to leave her house when the rain started, there was downpour for many hours. Her landlord was able to escape by climbing on a tree, but she couldn't, and the rain took her away. People said they tried to help her, but the floods were just too heavy. So very sad. Her family have been informed.
Guys,
and
it would
things
be
like
nice to think that you're living in the West where floods are here and they're going to protect you. Guys, protect yourself. Just find a way to protect yourself right now.
Well, even
the floods are here.
No, that's in the immediate. We can have town planning rules. Yes, people build along waterways, but they are the state has to be planning how the houses will be distributed.
Yeah, but that means they have to begin to destroy houses.
Destroy and rebuild.
Stay indoors.
Yes.
Because I know someone who's lost her life now. She lost her life now because she tried to venture from one place to the other.
My girl
and
that lives in my house,
her
house in, is it Ogba or something, her apartment, flooded. Everything is in underwater. Yeah. So she's still in my house. So it's everywhere. Moving on to Punch. National Assembly sets November 28th target for budget passage. Taraba killings panel wants Captain ASP, others punished. Gunmen abduct NSCDC officer, 8 others demand 10 million naira. Sexual harassment, UNILAG suspends another lecturer. PNID petitioner offers to testify against ex-CJN Belgore. And Army starts special operations in Southwest and Southeast. That's Operation Python Dance is going to start in Southwest. And I mean, it's interesting to see what it looks like in Southwest. We always talk about this in Southeast.
No, but because there are issues. Just on Monday in Osapa, London, there's a crisis between Eye and Aye cults fraternity, and they went on the streets. They were vandalizing vehicles. Robbery took place even during this thing. So we definitely need to have some intervention in terms of security in the Southwest also. So we're looking forward to what it will look like.
Okay, so UNILAG has suspended the second lecturer indicted by the Kikimodi's investigation, and his name is Samuel Oladipo. He's also being investigated now for for sex for grades.
We're discussing it tomorrow, so you guys should chill.
We're going to focus on the sex for grades matter tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll spend the entire show zooming on the matter and try to thrash it the best we can. Moving on now to Vanguard. 2020, Buhari presents 10.3 trillion naira budget. It says a job creation budget to National Assembly. And I think Vanguard has a breakdown of all the various allocations. It's our topic later on, so we'll focus on it a bit later. Sexual harassment, I won't be forced to speak, says the embattled lecturer. Insecurity, it's time to make our politics our part-time, says Adebutu. Federal government plans new measures to boost revenue for mining, says Minister. FG Defense VAT increase says it will help struggling states. Boko Haram crisis returning to pre-2015 levels with new strategy. And Wadume panel recommends disciplinary action against Army captain. Okay, do you want to speak? Okay, concerning the budget, one thing that jumps at me was the fact that the I think SMEs are going to benefit from this. There's a policy saying that businesses that have a 25 million naira turnover will be exempted from the 7.5% VAT that is planned for next year. So that's a good thing for SMEs, so that at least they can grow their businesses. So the taxes will be focused on bigger businesses and industries. So that should help that sector grow. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Fears in Abuja as gunmen in army uniform abduct 9. That's the major headline. Again, EFCC arraigns Atiku's son-in-law. Taraba killings panel finds army and police guilty. FG banks on VAT hike, borrowings to fund 2020 budget. And Python dance 4, another massacre in disguise, says Inter-Society. That's what people are already saying about the Operation Python dance. What's the major headline?
I have. So another sad story in Abuja and Kuje area. 9 people have been abducted, one of them a 12-year-old boy. And also Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps personnel was also shot during this abduction. So these armed men dressed in military camouflage stopped this guy. I think they shot at the car, the tires burst, and they have taken these people away. Families said that they have been contacted by these abductors asking for 10 million, but no one, the security operatives are still trying to find, where these people are, who these people are.
Okay.
There was another kidnapping that took place in in Rivers, and this is, Bayelsa, around Bayelsa Rivers, Ogoni, Adoni, Okpobo Unity Road, and they are saying that these are suspected pirates, that they kidnapped 2 policemen who were, they boarded a boat and in a jetty. So it was the pirates, they usually do like the bunkery business, and they're taking away 2 policemen. I feel that there's crisis happening everywhere, and it's worrisome. Are we going to deploy military into every area of the country? What are we going to do? How are we addressing this issue?
The Nigerian Tribune. I think we talked about all the major stories there, but the picture story is interesting. Nima, do you want to talk about that? President Buhari in a dramatic meeting with Senator Dino Malaye of the PDP after a presentation of the 2020 budget.
He said that's all.
That's all.
Oh, that's what's about.
Who saw the picture? Anybody? It was an interesting picture.
It was a Rankadede kind of picture.
Yeah, it's a political thing,
So while we are dividing ourselves,
everybody's together at the top.
Everybody can greet each other now.
Oh, yeah. We expect the people to deal with each other.
Citizens are bashing each other's heads over these people. This picture tells you that, listen, at the top, they are united.
Everybody's together.
The last budget presentation, there was a hoo-ha by this same senator against the president. So now things are peaceful.
Okay, let's find another story. Daily Trust. All the papers have breakdowns on the budget, so we won't talk about it right now. Works gets lion's share as Buhari proposes 10.3 trillion for 2020. Let's find a story we've not taken yet. PDP to Buhari, your budget proposal will impoverish Nigerians. Ignore campaign of calumny that Akpabio urges. And 9 persons kidnapped in Abuja. No other story. I think that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, Independence Day Award from Dufil Foods. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So in Nigeria, several children have contributed to the development of the country, but most times the deeds of these children are often overlooked by the public. 12 years ago, Dufil Primary Foods, the makers of Indomie Instant Noodles, noticed this gap and introduced Indomie Independence Day Awards, IIDA, solely for children. In preparation for this year's award, which is holding in October, we have with us Dufil Primary Foods Group Public Relations and Events Manager, Mr. Tokwe Ashiwaju, and one of the past winners, Victor Olaiwola. Welcome to the show. So before we have this conversation with you, I'd like our viewers and audience to watch this clip.
My name is Victor Olaiwola. I'm 15 years old. I attend Honey Spring High School. What motivated me in saving my mom was because I know she suffered a lot for me, and I don't want all her suffering should go in vain. And because I love my mom so much, I don't want to be alive. I should not have a mom.
It redeemed me from death. He's an hero because he lost something for somebody else's life. Victor is my child, and he's happened to be the only child that I have. We were coming from the church on that fateful day. We've already highlighted from the bus. So now we're going back home. We wanted to cross. So I think he saw the bus that was coming at the right time because of the traffic light. He couldn't wake. Maybe the bus failed to brake. I did not aware. But Victor's noticed that. I just had to turn back to come and Mommy, he pushed me out of the way. But because he couldn't rescue himself, the bus hit his legs and the leg got broken. He was rushed in the blood as a mother. But for me to rescue him, it was one that rescued my life.
If I find myself in that kind of situation again, I will do it again. I'm going to save that person is actually going to, or myself. I'm going to do it again. I know that they're going to amputate it. I know that God has done his best, and that's how it's going to be.
Doctor called me as a mother that, what is the next thing to do that? Don't think the guy can sustain the leg that they have to amputate it. I said no. They said the thing is between 50-50. I did not even ask her then. I said no.
Till date, Victor wears the evidence of his heroic act as he moves around with his prosthetic limb.
Now, I definitely remember this story last year, and I know it was quite moving, and I know Duffel Foods, the makers of Indomie, have actually invested so much in this project of celebrating bravery in various angles, intellectual and social. So in this, you've been doing this for so many years. Tell us this initiative again, like shed more light on exactly the initiative of helping and projecting young people like this.
Thank you very much, Mariah. Good morning, viewers. From us in Dufil Prima Foods PLC, we recognize the gap that children in Nigeria are doing quite a lot of things that are worth celebrating and emulating. And we said to ourselves that we're going to play a very active role in that space. And that is what led to the beginning of that initiative called IIDA. In 2008, when we started this program, we had several people who submitted several stories. And till date, I can say that we've had very wonderful and touching and even very emotional stories that even children who watch this oftentimes don't want to believe. And we say to ourselves, does this really happen in Nigeria? And the answer is yes, it does happen in Nigeria. All we just need to do as a brand is to bring them out and showcase to the public and celebrate the heroism in every one of them. Just like we have said, Victor is just one of them out there, and it all starts. We ask people to come out with these stories, showcase it, send it to us. We'll do a back-end validation, and of course, what we do is to ensure that whatever stories that we get are properly, put together, and of course,
I'd like to talk to Victor. Victor, how are you?
I'm fine.
Well done for what you did for your mom. But I would like to know how you're coping with life after your surgery and then the prosthetic leg. Are you in school, and do your friends, also comment what you've done, or they make life tough for you?
Yeah, I'm still in school. But everything is just so complicated. But that's how it goes. But I'll use what God gave me as I'll use what God gave me as a normal thing, as a normal human being. But I'll try my best to make it in the right way.
This award that you got, yes, go ahead.
So I'm going back to your comments, Mr. Tokwe, and the thing for me is, we tend to, what awareness and media is drawn to negatives of our society, and we tend to celebrate the fact that Nigerians are into cybercrime and all that the young people are doing that is going wrong. So I'm happy, and every time we do this, that you come on the show and we were forced to acknowledge the fact that there are brave young Nigerians making impact in this country. I want to applaud the initiative for what you've done so far. But how has the response been in terms of people thinking that this is cooked up?
Okay.
And how do you assure people that they are genuine stories?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, part of our success story has been our partnership with media houses like TVC. Now, you see, because a lot of these things are hidden, not many people, for instance, every time we have a program, we have a show, the maximum number of people who can put together at any point in time would be maybe maximum 1,000. Okay. Now, by the time you put it on TV, millions of Nigerians are looking at what is happening. I mean, obviously, the viewers saw what happened now. Most of the time, what we try to do is to say that these stories come from outside. We do a back-end validation, and we throw back to the society. And, of course, any of this that you watch, we bring lots and lots of credible judges to adjure on these stories. Right. So it's not directly from us that we are picking who wins and who does not.
Okay. Please, could you tell us about this event, the Indomie Independence Day Award? Okay. I think you've been doing this for 12 years now. 12 years. Yes. Could you please shed more light on what?
Okay. Essentially, what we do is that there are 3 processes to this. Stages. It means that the search exercise, the validation exercise, and of course, eventually the celebration, which is what is coming up in October 12, 2019. So such exercise is going around the country to look for these stories. Of course, validation is to ensure that whatever stories that we get have been collaborated by a third party or have been reported in the past. And I'm quickly to mention that it's not only the physical bravery that we're celebrating. There's also the Intellectual Bravery Award, and of course, there's also the Social Bravery Award. Okay. Part of what the Social Bravery Award will do is, you have children who still drive to ensure that, things like NGOs, people like saying early child marriage should be discontinued, ensuring that people don't go into drugs and other stuff like that. You're amazed that people, even children, take out of their pocket money to ensure that this is
interesting was the intellectual bravery, because those are when inventors, kids who actually invent things. So we don't want kids thinking as if we're only looking for those who are brave enough to do these kind of acts. It's more of people, intellectual, social, and all that. But
so what do they get?
Yeah.
So for us, we say the minimum that they get is ₦1 million Naira scholarship. However, we've had people spontaneously donating almost everything for these children. Some of them got as much as 3.5 million Naira last year. So just at a sitting, voluntary donation. And you see, because they're all apart from the monetary aspect of it, once Nigerians recognize and admit that you have done good, I think it's forever in you.
Okay, so Mr. Ashewaju, is there a follow-up? Because I was concerned about how Victor lives now.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Victor, you need to speak up out when you're talked to. I wanted to know how he's coping now, because school is a different thing entirely. How do you follow up on the lives of children like Victor, to make life better for them?
Part of what we do is just to ensure that, from time to time, already he's a brand ambassador for us. So what we do is that we keep a tab on him and say, okay, how is school going on? Part of it is also bringing him back on air to show people that, we have not just given an abandoned
he's a star. He's a star. That's the idea, because you must understand that. Once you understand that you're a star, you're bigger than whatever negative comments comes around you. It's important. Yes, I want to throw one last thing.
I just wanted to find out if your story has helped your schoolmates in any way. Do you have any stories that you can say because of what you did and because of how Duffield has also come in contact with you? Is there something you've done? Has it inspired your mates?
Yeah, I serve as a role model in my society.
Okay.
So people look up to me.
Wow. That's
fantastic.
Good. So what's next? What's next for you? Listen, you're on TV now. You can Dangote can be watching right now. So what's next for you? What are the things we aspire to do in future?
Now I need further educations.
Okay. What class are you in?
SS3.
SS3. Oh, so you're about to go into university. Fantastic. Okay, so that's good. Go ahead.
So after, I wish I could have the opportunity to study more abroad.
Oh, wow. We all do, don't we? Trust me. We all, I mean, you don't want to go abroad too. Hey, we all want to go abroad. Don't worry. Hey, listen, anybody, you'll be surprised. Somebody can make it happen.
Yeah.
But is there any other information you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, the information I'd like to share with us, I mean, this Saturday, come 12th of October, we're going to be celebrating another set of children, 2019. We're going to be celebrating them, and we're going to also showcase them to the whole world to say there are a lot of things happening in Nigeria, especially from the children. We know as a brand that once we get it right from this particular age, we know we'll have a better Nigeria.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, if you're out there and you're actually moved by what Victor's experience was, and you want to send him abroad, please contact us. We'll be happy to recommend, to make sure that he actually gets his dreams come true.
Yeah.
We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll discuss this issue of rice insufficiency. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So rice is one of the most important food staple food in Nigeria. And is actually demanded in excess of 7 million tons, we're told. In order to reduce rice importation and to promote Nigerian rice, report has it that Nigerians are complaining of rice insufficiency. On the show today, our guests will be enlightening us on how Nigerians can cope. Joining us is the rice consultant expert, Dr. Rotimi Fashola. Welcome to the show, sir. You can call us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. So recently, our borders got closed. And everybody was complaining, it's not fair, yes, people are impoverishing our people. But it seems customs is not going back on this. They're insisting that the borders remain closed. Now, their own argument is they're stopping imported rice from coming to the country.
And many other imported
Now,
things.
they're also saying they're trying to encourage local rice. But the problem is that local rice is not properly distributed. We don't even have enough. So you're telling us that we can cope with this insufficiency. How?
Well, good morning, and thank you very much. Yes, we can cope. It's a question of time. Nigeria consumption, like you said, is about 7 million of milled rice. What we produce in terms of paddy is about 10 million metric tons, which normally would have given us about 5 million metric tons of milled rice. So there's a gap of about 2 million metric tons. The process of increasing production in Nigeria actually only started a couple of years back. Before now, we've been flooded with all kinds of imported rice. It's amazing, and I'm sure a lot of people will believe that it's better to have imported rice than local rice.
But it's wrong.
But it's wrong. The truth
But it tastes really nice. Like imported rice tastes really nice.
Yes, because you're eating artificial things. Local rice are fresh.
Okay.
I usually use the analogy of a fresh fish and a stock fish. A fresh fish is sweeter, more expensive, and stores a shelf life is short. That's what we have as a local Nigerian rice. They are fresh, and they tend to have a short lifespan because of the fact that our cycling is just about a year. What we produce this year is almost all consumed next year.
It seems like Nigeria has never been able to farm rice from what we read and what we hear Nigerians
because we
express.
never encouraged the production of rice.
I wanted you to take us down history on how Nigerians, if we ever were able to be sufficient, and how we lost sufficiency to importation.
Well, that's a long history because prior to the Civil War, we were actually sufficient in rice production. But then that was because we were eating all the food. Yam, cassava, products,
Thank you.
cocoyam, sweet potato, maize. Nigeria is amazing. We're blessed with all
Loads
food.
of carbs.
But as we became urbanized, as more people came to Lagos, went to Abuja, go to Kaduna, go to Kano, the food of the day of the city is rice. And gradually, that number of influx increased our consumption from what used to be less than 10 kilograms per person per year to about 40 kilograms per person per year.
Quadrupled.
Now, population also increases, urbanization increases, and production was reducing.
Right.
We are cultivating rice on one season per year. In other words, we do not cultivate twice in a year. We're cultivating rice with cutlasses and hoe. Our farmers are 50 years and above. Only recently do you have Ankobora's program, which had tried to expand the cultivation of rice with the farmer, and the paddy aggregation scheme, all by intervention by CBN, which is encouraging processors. And when you talk about processing, there are two sets of processing. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Abakaliki rice.
Yes.
Abakaliki is an entity. They are small groups of cottage industries that commit together. Then you have what we call the integrated rice. Now, the integrated milling are actually taking less than 1 million metric tons of paddy, to process. And these integrated mills are the ones that the city people want to eat, not the, in quote, Abakaliki. Reasons being that Abakaliki group, we're just using Abakaliki as an analogy. There is Lafayette, there's Bida and all that. They do not color sort, they do not destone. But the integrated mills are just coming. They destone, they color sort.
Gotcha.
So, I never heard of the word rice experts or all of that. So, and you seem pretty informed to help us through this. I think that one of the biggest challenge we have as a country is that we have embraced rice as our staple. And the importation is now should force us to become more creative in what we eat. I want to bring it practical because this is what I've done. I have included, we do rice now twice in a week, max in my house. And so we do yam, potatoes, as a way to bring in other things. So how would you help Nigerians embrace other forms of food? Or do you think that this rice culture that we have, we should still hold on to it? What would you advise?
As long as we're urbanizing, rice will be a staple.
So we can't fight it.
You shouldn't fight it. What we should do is increase production. What we should do is educate ourselves that the high cost of rice now is artificial. Because of supply and demand, it will come down. Once the hype of, would they close it, would they open it, gets down, we'll normalize our pricing, and the price will start to fall.
Quick addition, sir, because with the challenge I eat ofada rice, and it's expensive.
Yes, ofada rice is a niche. There are other Nigerian rice that are not ofada rice that are cheaper than ofada rice. Ofada rice is twice the price of the other
imported rice.
So, sir, the policy that has been, this policy now to stop importation or smuggling of rice into Nigeria has caused a lot of problems. So, understandably, you're in this industry, and for you, it seems the right thing to do in order to improve production of rice.
Yes, it is.
But isn't there a way to do it so that, why is it difficult for you to compete with the foreign rice? Why don't you just leave the market open and and let it be an open ground?
Let it die itself eventually.
Yes, let the imported ones not be imported anymore because people do not want them, and then the local rice would be people would consume more because probably price is better, the way it tastes is better or is healthier. Why are you unable to compete with imported rice?
One of the ministers, few administration ago, said I'm a minister for farmers and not for traders or importers. The other countries where we import rice had gone way ahead of us to have better yield, better production than we are. And that had made them to have a better scale in terms of bringing paddy or bringing milled rice to Nigeria. If we must improve our production and our productivity, there is a need for us to actually help the farmer and help the millers. If we don't help the farmers and help the millers, imported rice will keep flooding at a cheaper price and at a worse nutritional benefit.
Certainly.
So we have to take that drastic measure.
I wanted to ask,
I'll come to you, Tokwe. I was going to actually ask you a
Go
question.
ahead. Go ahead.
Let me let Tokwe go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to ask concerning the mediation process to help importers. So I know that smuggling, and I've said it countless times on this show, that smuggling is not a career and it's damaging our economy. So we must stop smuggling. However, some people are middlemen. This is how they make their livelihood, and we don't want to just cut them off or stop how they'll make money. Is the government working with this rice importers or rice retailers to ensure that they are aware, because for them it's just a business, but when they are aware of the economical advantages of selling local rice, are you aware of any intervention by the government to involve these sellers of imported rice to understand the value of promoting Nigerian rice?
Yes, it is actually. The state had helped a lot. I mean, federal government had helped a lot in synthesizing farmers, millers, importers. The word I hate to use is the fact that smugglers are actually economic saboteurs.
Yes, they are.
Our neighbors brought down the tariff of rice so as to be able to make it cheaper to come into the country, and then they smuggle it in. And then even the procedures of smuggling in, it's not helpful. I'm sure you're aware that the ECOWAS Treaty did say that if you're not producing something in your country, you should not allow it to come in so as to go to a third country.
Okay.
But they're not.
But that's how they grow their economy.
They're not following it.
Parasitic.
And that is creating a problem.
So I needed you to emphasize the health benefits and dangers in consuming imported rice. I have been a victim, and I've sworn myself off imported rice. Especially the ones from this same border country.
I disagree.
No, hold on a minute. No, maybe where you are buying from the shops. The ones from these border countries are flooding my area where I live, and so that's what's available. They give you a bag of poisonous rice that I have confirmed in my house. So in 3 hours, you're eating poison when you cook it. So yes, I cooked it, and it happened. This is something I experienced. So I needed you. I would love that you expand on the duration of warehousing rice in these countries that we claim to have rice sufficiency, and how the cargo into Nigeria, the importation, and all the processes, within which time, of course, the shelf life of any rice, what is it supposed to be like?
If I would use a country like Thailand that has a lot of rice and move a lot of rice to Nigeria, they have a storage capacity of about 11 million metric tons of rice. Wow. And they do not give us, because we're the only country that eats parboiled rice. Every other country in the West Coast or in Africa at large eats white rice, which is not as nutritious as us. Now, so you find a scenario in which...
Sorry, please, can you explain that? I don't
about the white rice.
Now, anybody that had gone to Benin, Togo, Ghana would see that their rice is whitish, it's starchy, and it's not, it's a bit sticky. When you even go further to Ghana, it has a perfume, it has a scent.
Even Chinese rice, like, it's very sticky like that, white.
That's not what we eat.
Is that healthier?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's actually starch.
Okay, there's another one where it's kind of rice that you use for tuwon rice. Is that the same white rice you're talking about?
It's similar.
Okay.
Of course, varieties are different, but in Nigeria, all the rice we eat in Nigeria are parboiled.
Yeah.
And we are the only country that eats parboiled rice. And it's very healthy.
Okay, let me ask you this, because
didn't land on
okay, go ahead. See, I don't want her to make it look as if all foreign rice are bad. Because some of us
I'm not making it look
basmati rice. And a lot of people actually demand it at parties. Because it shows that people feel like, and it's long rice.
It is not healthier, it is lighter.
Exactly. So that's what I need us to verify.
And basmati rice is actually more like a status quo. Basmati rice cannot be eaten by the population.
Right.
Agreed.
But so those of us that can afford it, can we continue eating it?
Of course you can.
But
But
you
then-
answer my question more. Let's answer me now.
we need to understand the fact that parboiled rice is more nutrition for the entire country.
Right.
Because, you see, I was going to tell you the process of getting to the parboiled rice.
Please.
If we take two countries, Nigeria and Bangladesh, Bangladesh eats white rice, and because of the poverty level, which Nigeria is not exempted from, they had a lot of malnutrition. So they had to fortify, they had to genetically modify their rice to fortify it so as to augment their malnutrition. In Nigeria, we don't have to do that because the natural mineral, protein, and vitamin in the rice is infused into the rice we eat. So even if we do not add sauce to it, it is still nutritious.
That's honest,
Yes. You know, and I often tell people that what you eat is the sauce. What you taste in rice is the sauce. But complementing the sauce you use is the fact that your rice is richer.
Let me pause for a second. I have someone who's holding for a while. Shola, are you still there? Sorry for keeping you. Hello, Shola.
Hello, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
All right. Greetings to you all in the house.
Greetings, sir.
And also, I want to greet, what's it called? Miriam.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Very clearly, please.
Okay. I like the question Miriam asked. Normally, it should be you allowing importations of foreign rice. Now, we compete with our local rice. But here in Nigeria, I discovered we leave the necessary things undone and focus on the things that will affect the masses. We have insufficient local production, and you are still telling us to shut down the the border, not to bring in importations. Everybody is starving. Gari and rice is the easiest food to quickly afford for a common man in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Shola. I think I got the point of the question, and I want you to respond to that. He's saying that we should compete, not shut down, because he feels that is impoverishing our people. That you
We
keep...
actually had tried to compete. There was a couple of years back, there was an intervention in which if you have a meal, you can import a percentage of imported rice to complement your local processing. But virtually everybody abused it. We are a nation that circumvents cut corners, so to speak. And that makes it difficult to have a normalcy in terms of policy. Look, I lived and studied in Japan. And even with WTO, Japan do not import beyond 20% of its need, apart from the fact that whatever Japan imports to its country is given out. They make sure that the rice they eat is what they produce. So,
sorry to interrupt you again, but based on the question, on his analysis now, are we truly, enriching our people by opening the borders for this rice to come? Are we in the long run, or are we giving with one hand and taking with the other hand by making rice cheap or buying cheap rice, allowing cheap rice for our people, and enriching another country? I don't think you understand my question.
I do.
Is it Nigeria that is benefiting from that importation?
We're not. We are not actually benefiting.
I think we should sit down and look at it.
In the first place, like I said earlier on, there is a reduction in tariff in Benin on rice importation. So Benin is gaining. Sorry to say, even some few elements in Nigeria collaborate with them bringing in. You find people coming in after paying some dues to bring in. So it's not benefiting the masses.
I'll come to you. Alaji, thanks for calling. Are you still there?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Go ahead, please.
Please, this issue is about the economy, food sufficiency in Nigeria. Please, Mariam, there is a problem with the question you raised, that the foreign rice should compete with our own local rice. No way about that. Do you know that the people that import rice to Nigeria, they deflate our forex to buy the rice from abroad? That's number one. Our foreign exchange is draining off because of that.
Yes.
Number two, you see, there's no better way. There's no any way, no any time that is either early or late about banning importation. You ban it any time, Nigeria will wake up to the task ahead. They'll go back to the farm. Before you know it, a lot of industries will come up to process rice for us. And this issue of price, going up, going down now, is just a temporary measure. It's something that when you have a radical program in place.
Drastic measures for drastic
Okay, so
situation.
my question,
Thank you very much, Alaji.
like, is more like a two-part, which is, I understand the policy and what it's meant to do, but you also said that there's a mentality in Nigeria. So my fear is that you put this policy and rice producers become, what's the word, complacent. So there's no competition, so they're just producing whatever it is. Because I do remember growing up as a child, we ate rice with stone. Before you ate rice, you would have to pick out the stones. But until we got the competitive rice, the foreign rice, I think now you're stepping up. So my fear is this policy may actually just make us, just...
When everything poisons rice at some point.
It's not
yeah,
going to, make us complacent. For example, in 2014, 2015, the integrated mills in Nigeria were about 25. Today, the integrated mills in Nigeria are hitting 50. By next year, federal government is bringing through private entities another 10. By 2020, 2021, we should be hitting 75. So people are aware that it is important. It's business.
Right.
Everybody knows that the better my quality in terms of being stone-free, being uniform in color and everything, I make more money.
Right.
So we start to introduce grading.
Right. You know that I asked a bit earlier about having conversation with these smugglers and engaging with them so that they understand, because the Nigerian a lot of the Nigerians that do this know what they are doing is wrong, but they feel like we're beating the system, we're using what we can to make what we want. And so it's a deliberate sabotage. I know that we also have issue of inconsistent government policy concerning things. So when somebody goes in and says, okay, I'm seeing the body language of the government, I'm investing in rice mill, and somebody else comes in and changes the policy, what should how assured should Nigerians be towards going into investing in agriculture and particularly rice farming, towards getting
May I quickly build on that question? Is there a plan, to integrate the smugglers as all middlemen between the producers and the Nigerian retailers eventually?
Smugglers as an entity.
No, because whether you like it or not, they are the middlemen. They get it, and that's the gap Tokpe is trying to cover with that question. So is there a plan by government? Is there a guaranteed policy to get them to locate where to get it?
It will be easier for me to talk about the policies. Policy consistency and policy inconsistencies are being in agriculture as a whole. However, we know that in this administration, policy consistency had been, in terms of agriculture and rice particularly, had been consistent. And we can be sure that in the next 3.5 years, this policy will hold.
Okay. Let me just take this last question, one question from our audience. Go ahead, madam, please. It's on. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. Okay, please, I would like to disagree with your guest on the taste of the rice. Some time ago, somebody gave me half bag of Abakaliki rice, and I dashed most out, and I had to eat part of it. I don't like the taste. So, and I agree with Miriam's opinion, so I won't go back to it. And I want to ask you, sir, please, as an expert, what are you doing to work with the government to actually set up machines centers where this rice, the local rice, can be destoned at an affordable, because most of the entrepreneurs, maybe they don't have the capital to set up these machines. So what is the government doing to actually set up centers to destone local products?
Thank you very much for that.
There's a lot of support going on now. I'm not from CBN, but I know there's CAS, there's Paddy Aggregation Scheme, there's BOI intervention.
There's information out there.
Yes, and that's why I said earlier on that we've moved from less than 20 to almost 75 mills in the country. We're heading towards a level, and I can tell you there are mills in Nigeria that has a fully automated, integrated mills, stone-free and color-sorted. Yes, you might have issues with Abakali because that cottage industry, but there are already mills in Nigeria, and more are coming that you do not have that problem with at all.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to round up on that. Thank you so much. Oh, do you have to let's take
we have
2 or 3. Very quickly.
Oluwa Fashola says, foreign rice is not good for Nigerians, but London hospital is good for Buhari.
I read that.
So Ehi says, Ehi is affirming that in Edo State we produce and consume rice that is cheaper than foreign rice and is better, which I can confirm as well.
Distribution, please. Distribution. We need to do better with distribution.
That's all we can take on this segment. I told you that already. When we come back, we move on to our next topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay, we want you to come back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Right. Thanks for staying with us. Just yesterday, our President, Muhammadu Buhari, presented the 2020 budget, estimate of 10.3 trillion naira, to the joint session of the National Assembly. This bill has generated mixed reactions from different quarters. Join us to dissect it, to dissect this bill, actually, is a finance expert, Mr. Akin Akinbode. Welcome to the show again. To join the conversation, you can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect, please hashtag YourVTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, so if you have not heard, our entire budget is 10.3 trillion. 4.8 is going to recurrent, or with the salaries and the whole works. Capital is 2.14. That's what they're going to use to build roads and all that. Debt service is 2.45. Capital projects, I talked about that already. VAT increase is going to be 5% to 7.5. GDP growth rate is going to be 2.9%. Deficit, which is 2.8 trillion naira. Now, that deficit is usually the amount of money we don't have that we're hoping to go and get. My first question to you, sir. We have a 2.8 trillion naira deficit from this budget. So we hope to raise the money. How, in your own view, what is the government's plan on raising this 2.8 trillion naira deficit?
Actually, I think the deficit should be 2.18, right?
Okay, I have 2.8 here, but go ahead. The figures are still conflicting. Different papers have different numbers, but go ahead.
Because the total budget package is actually 10.3 billion. Whereas the revenue, 10.3 trillion, whereas the revenue is 8.1 trillion. Okay. So, invariably, the deficit is estimated to be 2.18 trillion naira. Okay. Now, normally, this is telling us that we are going to spend an amount of money that we do not have revenue to cover. And over the years, if you check, this has been the trend. We've always been operating in on deficit budgets. Now, for them to get this deficit part of the budget, now they definitely have to borrow. Now, talking about borrowing, it could either be internal or external. Now, talking about external borrowing is approaching the likes of maybe World Bank, IMF, what have you, to be able to get certain amount of money, and then locally to be able to raise funds also from citizens who are willing to lend to the government, just to put it in basic terms. That's what it means.
Like treasury bills and all that?
Voila, okay. Yes. That's what it means.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's focus on where they'll be generating revenue. Our oil revenue will be 2.64 trillion and non-oil 1.8. But there's something called other revenue.
Okay.
That's supposed to be 3.7 trillion.
Okay.
How exactly what does that cover? What does it cover?
Now, when you look at the structure of the revenue for the proposed for 2020, I will take it by structure that we go into that actually. Now, there's a shift in the way this is being structured. Now, in the sense that you have the oil revenue to be 2.6 trillion, the non-oil revenue to be 1.8 trillion, and then the other revenue to be 3.7 trillion. Talking about this other revenue, those are revenue that comes from government parastatals, certain government parastatals, or independent agencies. For instance, even CBN, for instance, NCC. You know, these are bodies that also generate revenue in one way or the other for the government. So they're expecting this to come up. But if you compare this revenue structure to 2019 budget, you will realize that in 2019 budget we did not have this aiding of other revenue. That's because this aspect of the revenue is being embedded in other part in the oil revenue and the non-oil revenue. Okay. But this time around, they're trying to bring it out to say we actually have a revenue head of this.
I don't want to talk about that over our audience. I want to be sure that we're clear. So the oil revenue, yes. Non-oil revenue from last year, we thought that was the VAT,
so I thought
agriculture.
Non-oil revenue, customs generating and all that, others. What I see other revenue to me would be like AIDS or something.
No. When you say FRS, friend line revenue, no, you are talking about tax. Now, that comes under non-oil revenue, actually, in the sense that for companies, for instance, TVC, you guys pay tax. The tax goes under non-oil revenue because we're a business generating money in terms of taxes to the government. However, you are not an oil business. So that's what.
Okay, then we come to you, Mariam.
Yes. So for me, I was just, if we look at the diagram, you know, to see the different places our money is going into, we see a 2.45 trillion for servicing debt, and then we see a 296 billion, which seems quite small, for sinking funds. So I just want to know what the difference between sinking funds and debt servicing is, because to me, from what I know, it seems to be the same thing.
Not exactly, actually. Not exactly in the sense that the debt financing talks about the amount of money you have borrowed, and then you have to pay interest on it and also pay back. But the sinking fund is talking about is a scheme that is being used to draw down on your debts. No, it's a bit technical actually, but it's a scheme that's being used to draw down on your debts. Okay. Do you understand? But debt financing talks about the real debt that you are actually paying for.
So the debt service, for example, now, if I'm owing 10,000 naira, and the interest on that is 2,000 naira, for example, my debt servicing is the 2,000 naira. I know that I'm going to be servicing that 2,000 naira. So my sinking fund is something that's separated.
The sinking fund will drop that 10,000 originally that you are owing.
Gotcha. But when you look at it also, invariably, the government has borrowed over a period of years, and this has accumulated. And that's the reason why, if you look at the 2019, because we are still in the year, 2019, the debt financing was 2.1 trillion, but next year it's being proposed to be 2.4 trillion. We are having a shift, an increase of about.
Okay, I want us to bring this conversation home, because I don't want us to talk about our audience or even our viewers, so that we understand. Now, what we have seen so far, from what I'm seeing, is that a lot of money is being put aside for works, housing, transportation, and power. So it looks like this government wants to focus a bit on capital projects. However, the common man also is demanding investment in education, health. Those are key, because I'm seeing a reduction. I mean, some people are saying 82 billion, but others are saying 48 billion.
Health is 46 billion.
Health is 46 billion. Your National Assembly is taking one and something, I think 115 billion or something. That's their own budget. 125 billion for National Assembly. Your own health is taking 48 billion. Education is taking 46 billion. So we are asking,
can be what is going to our National Assembly, the upper and lower chamber, which was what I wanted to highlight, is more than what is going to our health and educational sector combined. And for me, it doesn't speak well of a government that is asking me to tighten my seats and tighten my belt and sacrifice on many grounds to fund this budget, because I'm sure that under the non-oil expected income and the others is part of my money that is going to do that. Oil is barely covering 40% of our budget as it is right now. So the other funds, I think Nigerians need to be more aware that our money is the one funding this budget. Before, it was oil money
that was
funding the budget.
But that's a
so
good
people felt like it's oil money.
But that's a good thing.
Now,
that's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing, because we can now begin to understand. That's what I want the audience and everybody watching to, that we must demand that it is our money that is funding the lifestyle of our government and our children's money, because they are taking loan against the future that our children will pay. So you must be aware that whatever the government is doing now will cost you and your children and your children's children.
Okay, let me let you
hold them accountable.
You know what? I think you actually open a different topic entirely, and I'll put it like this. Now, when you talk about it's our money, trying to analyze this revenue now, that initially people are saying that about 40% is coming from oil, and now we realize that it's not exactly like that any longer. Whether it's coming from oil or it's coming from other sources of revenue, it is still our money.
Yeah.
Now, and the point is that now, when I say you are opening a different topic entirely, now I'm of the school of thought that if you are asking me to make sacrifices, then you also should be willing to make sacrifices. Now, for instance...
All of us are in that school.
Exactly. For instance, if the government is proposing, like they did in the, like the President mentioned yesterday, that the VAT is moving from 5% to 7.5%. We are talking about 50% increment in VAT. Now, this money is going to be used, according to them, to take care of healthcare, infrastructure, and things like that. But the question is, the government, the lifestyle of the government that Tope mentioned, are they willing also to make sacrifices on behalf of Nigerians, which is a big issue? Which is a big issue. Now, coming down to the issue of education. Now, education is going to take 48 billion, right? Whereas the universal basic education is going to take 112 billion. So when you combine this together, it's about 160 billion naira. Now, but do you know, my take to this is that this amount of money is quite very small when it comes to education. But the education, because the education is actually the future of the country, the future of this nation, as simple as that. Now, the statistics of the World Bank has it that about 10 million Nigerian children are out of school. Now, and we are also talking about Nigeria has about 90 million people who are living in extreme poverty. Now, there's a link between these two. Children that you are not educated today, they'll be poor tomorrow. It's as simple as that. So it's high time that the government actually begin to spend more on education.
Let me take this call from Adisa. I'll come to you, Mariam. Adisa, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, Mariam.
Good morning. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to make 2 points. I want to talk about the first one of rice production, then I'll comment on this budget of a thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you with me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we are living in a scam country. We speak so many English in this country, and at the end of the day, comes up. We even speak better English than the British. Now, foreign rice is not good, but foreign medical health is better. Likewise, foreign car is better. Innocent car is not good in this for the government official, but Methodist birth is better. That's that about that. Now, Ethiopia is building the largest dam in Africa. Go and check on it. They have not borrowed 1 naira from World Bank. They have not borrowed 1 naira from IMF, but they are building the largest dam in Africa. Now, for the issue of the budget, of course, the government will see 2.81 trillion naira. Of course, they are already charging Showore to pay 150 million naira. So they will fund the deficit. Don't worry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
To quickly respond to what the man said is that, you know, for me, when you say that local foreign rice is not good, and then foreign healthcare services are good, foreign cars are good, and all those stuff. You know, invariably, still going back to my earlier point that you're asking me to make sacrifice, are you willing to make sacrifice? Now, talking about the VAT, right, and other things that the government is coming up with, including the toll gates that they're bringing up. Now, they're trying to generate revenue for today. But my opinion to this is that if you really want to grow the economy, think about how to generate revenue for the future. Don't think short term, think long term. Now, I will tell you, if you are taking more from me in terms of paying VAT, increment in taxes and all those stuff, you are invariably reducing my disposable income. You are directly, in fact, reducing my ability to reinvest.
Where would they get the money from, sir?
No, I'm coming. You are actually directly reducing my ability to reinvest or to invest and thereafter. Then even for corporate regulation, when you ask me to pay more taxes, you also reduce my ability to expand my business. You reduce my ability to create jobs, to increase my ability to even pay more taxes in the future.
I hear you. Yeah, well, the government, the president said that SMEs will be exempted, especially those that have 25 million turnover. They're trying to help because they understand SMEs how important they are to grow the economy. The bigger businesses are going to be the ones to be paying these taxes. The government keeps saying, I don't have money. Where, sir, should they raise this money from? If you keep saying that they shouldn't increase taxes. I'm
still going back to the fact that we have to think futuristic. Now, frankly speaking, the job of the government is actually to create enabling environments. Do you understand? Now, when you allow people to have more disposable income and people are educated on how to create jobs, it will be better for the country in the long term.
Jump in here for a second.
You know, concerning this VAT, I think government will do what government needs to do, really. But I just want to say, can we look at the positives of this budget? Because sometimes, you know, we just get to attack. We need to also see what they have done that shows that probably they're in tune with what we're going through. Would you say?
Is there any positives?
Yeah, are there any positives?
Well, to a reasonable extent, I would say there are actually. Now, we are the government is trying to open up what I call diversification in the economy, in the sense that we are trying to shift our focus gradually away from oil. Now, because before now,
there's no oil money.
And we are sitting. No, we're going to sit down.
Before now,
$57. Please don't mind how.
Okay, before now, if you look at 2019 budget, the one we are currently running on, now.
So I have to hold you. I'm so sorry. This guy will be holding for a while. Ademola, are you still there?
Okay.
We don't have.
Muraya, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead very quickly. Quickly, go ahead. Yes.
God bless you. The Lord, thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
Yes, go ahead.
You are actually two things that concerns Nigeria, most especially with the upcoming generation, the disappointed generation. Regarding the budget proposal given to us yesterday, presented by His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, is actually not a realistic one, because it's not. Because where are they going to get all those deficits? Borrowing, mortgaging our future. When we have things that we're supposed to make use of here in Nigeria that we are not doing it. CBN intervention funding that is available is just for some selected people.
Okay, thank you. But just to note, our Minister of Finance has said that we are still within the borrowing bracket. That we're not so
we can continue to borrow.
For now, please. Go ahead, Nima.
I wonder how.
Okay, we're trying to talk about positive.
Yes,
now, so if you look at when I say last, I mean the last budget, which is 2019 budget. Now, oil revenue took about 41% of the total revenue we are running on. Now, but in the coming year, the government is proposing only 26% to be coming from oil revenue, whereas you have about 57% or thereabout coming from other revenue. So for me, they're trying to make a shift. Yeah, of course, they're trying to make a shift.
Is it that we're saving the money, or is that we're not getting the money now?
There is improvement.
Is it that we're saving the money from oil, or we are not getting it?
No.
So
our excess crude has increased now.
We need to make a shift. We need to make a shift gradually from oil. Our focus has been on oil for 2 years.
How much is the percentage that we're going to recurrent now?
Let me get to
Let's look at this budget and look at internal issues that we
let me finish. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. 46% actually.
Okay, so let's look at the internal issues that we have. We have the minimum wage to meet up.
Yep.
How promising is it on this budget? And of course, ASU every year on the 48 billion naira budget, 48 billion naira budget for health, for education. Issues with ASU every year recurring. How are we going to address it with this budget?
That's why I said that the amount of 48 billion naira for education is very small. It's small.
Okay, unfortunately, we can't take any more questions. I'd like to hear from somebody from SEF. Just let me throw somebody from. Can I have the microphone to a young man or young lady? You don't have to talk on budget. Just say something. I want you to say something. You can comment on the rice matter. You can comment on Nigeria, your future, anything. Just say something. Go ahead.
Is there anything we can do constitutionally to reduce the amount that the National Assembly is taking from the budget? Is there any
major question?
That's a jam question. Please, over to you.
For me, that's a very brilliant one. But you know what? It's difficult. And I'll tell you why I say it's difficult. You've already put them in the National Assembly.
Yeah, the ones that
are for you. Now, where you can get it corrected, it's actually at the polls.
Hallelujah.
It's as simple as that.
And when we can get at the polls, let me tell you, the same way we voted in Messi.
This matter is beyond.
The same way you voted for Messi for that reality show. You know what? Let us push to vote electronically, to push our National Assembly members, to push for electronic voting, so that you, when you become 18, can vote the leader that you want. There's a point he wants to make.
Because if we correct it at the polls, we need an amendment. These same people will go into the house and refuse to amend.
I have to go, unfortunately. That's all we can. Maybe next time. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.